Mon nom c'est Carole, je suis kenyane, j'habite en France depuis 1 an et demi et j'aime la langue française. Je suis vraiment passionnée par la langue française et je suis professeur de cette belle langue. Nouns are names of places, names of people, okay? All nouns in French are either masculine or feminine. Like this, you need to know, is it masculine or feminine? In English, we only have she, he, and it. Okay? The moment anything is not living, we use it. But he or she, even a cat, we refer to as it. But when you come to the French language, everything, be it a pen, be it a rubber, be it an earring, every single thing it has to be feminine or masculine. Sawa? So if I ask you ça va basically means, is that okay? If don't forget, ça va needs to have this little tail here. If you haven't written this, it's gonna be read cover, and that is not the correct one. Any noun, you have to attach it with masculine or feminine. We're gonna be saying like common nouns that we all know. So une. So this is for masculine. This is for feminine, okay? Masculine, feminine. So anytime you see we're gonna write a noun, some of the tricks and tips of this language, the moment you start learning it, these are the simple tricks that you need to know from the first time. Shika iyo noun, ujue kama ni feminine or masculine. Sawa? If you see we're gonna use this or un, you already know. Sawa? Okay, let's start with a dog. A dog. In English, we just say a dog. But in French, so dog is written as this. Okay? Next to it, I'm going to read how it's read. So, this is read as shia. This is how it's read. How it is read. Shia. So being that a dog is masculine, which one are we going to use here? Which one are we going to use? The first one or the second one? Nous allons utiliser ça. Un chien. Un chien. Okay? Un chien. Un chien. I hope you guys have your books and your pens. Un chien. Voila. Twende kwa cat. So a cat, it is read as sha. Shia. Sha. Shia. Sha. Okay? So a cat is masculine. Which one are we using? And it is masculine. Which one do we use? We're gonna use the same one. Ansha. 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 Ça va jusqu'à là-bas? Ça va? Ça va? Ça va mpaka hapa? Ça va up to here? This is read as d'accord. This is letter D, okay? D'accord. D'accord. So if I ask d'accord, is that okay? D'accord. Ça va? D'accord? Voilà. Nous continuons alors. Donc, un chien, un chat. Un chien, un chat. How do we say girl? Fille. 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 Two L's that follow each other in French, we read them as y. They bring the E sauti ya Y. Y. Fille. Fille. So being that this is feminine, we are going to be using une fille. Sasa mimi, being that mi ni dem, nitasema je suis une fille. Joanne is une fille. Wangeshi is une fille. So une fille. So these are the grammatical mistakes you are never supposed to do. Usiseme un fille, no. D'accord? Ça va? So fille is girl. So c'est une fille. How do you call this in French? Voilà, Africa, merci. How do you call this in French? So it's written as Livre-E. Livre-E. And being that un livre is masculine. Okay? So we're gonna be using un livre. Un livre. Un livre. So this is how it's read. Un. Une. Une. D'accord? I'm writing these R and H so you can get your essential, the French R. My name is Carole. Livre. Let me look at all the names with R here so we can pronounce. Peter. Peter in French is Pierre. 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 Gloria. Gloria. Arroi. You have to pronounce it. Ça va? D'accord? We have a bird. How do we write a bird? So, oiseau, being that a oiseau is masculine. Which one are we using? Masculine. Voila. We are using un oiseau. And a trick in the French language, if you see O and I that follow each other like this, so this brings about the sound wa. Ça va? Ndio maana tuko na this is how we say good evening. We say bon soir. So the O and I brings about the wa, and you have to remember the French R, which brings the ro. We read it as bon soir, bonsoir, 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 bonsoir. Oiseau, oiseau, and oiseau, oiseau. So, how are we gonna read this? Son oiseau. Oiseau. Like that is how we are reading it. That is just how you are reading it. You have to know how it's written grammatically, ça va? And you also have to know how it is pronounced. Cahier. If you're in class yesterday, you know the C is read as K. Okay? So we are going to have cahier. 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 So this is how we're going to read it. Cahier. Okay? So cahier is a notebook. Notebook. This is a notebook. This is un livre. So I hope you've noted the difference. So a cahier is a notebook. Notebook. Cahier is a notebook. Livre is just a book. The one that you read, you get to read. D'accord? Okay? Feminine, so a table is une. But how do we read it? We read it as table. 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 Yeah, table is feminine, okay? So we say une table. Une table. Une table. We have a house. A house. A house. So a house is feminine, okay? So, une maison. Voila. Nani alipata? Say une maison. How do you say an apple? So apple is feminine, okay? So we say une pomme. Une pomme. So that is how you're gonna read it. Une pomme. Let's look for others here. So this is a bell. Une cloche. We have, actually in French, you see these biscuits that look like this? We say un gâteau. Un gâteau. So if you have a jacket, like a really big one like this, so we call it a manteau. A manteau. The first day I heard this term, I was actually really confused because I'm like, what are these people saying? This hat that looks like this, yenye maodi wote wanavaa Kenya, is called une casquette. Une casquette. So ukisikia mtu amesema amevaa casquette, this is what they mean, and this is how it's written. Une casquette, a clock. Une horloge. Une horloge. As you have seen, all the nouns, they need to, you have to know, is it masculine or feminine? So sac à dos is made of these words. So sac à dos, we have a backpack. The backpack, so the pack is like a sack. I believe most of us here are speaking English, so you're gonna be understanding how I'm explaining, okay? Then dos is a French term that means your back, mgongo yako, dos, okay? So it is a sack that is placed on the back. It is a sack that we place on the back, on our backs, okay? Ça va? D'accord? So that is how we get this term, sac à dos. It is a sack that we place on our backs, okay? Sac. So basically it's read as sac à dos, okay? So this is a sack that you place on your back. So that is why it is called sac à dos. Have you guys understood up to there? So let's write sac à dos. Because at first, actually, when I was learning the language, I was like, what is a sac à dos? Sac à dos? Sac à dos ni nini? So, sac à dos is masculine. So we say un sac à dos. It is a sac that is placed on the back. Vous avez bien compris? I want to see if you guys have understood. So, hand, a hand in French is called main. So, how can we say handbag? If this is a backpack, because it is a sack that is placed on the back, because dos means back. So, how do we say a handbag? Handbag in French. So this is a bag on the back. Backpack is a sac à dos. Very important, you have to remember, okay? So this is what comes first. Sac, your accent needs to be this, okay? Sac à main. Sac, un sac à main. Sac à main. So basically it's read sac à main. Sac à main. Sac à main. How do you call a window? So a window is fenêtre. Une fenêtre. Fenêtre. Une fenêtre. Une fenêtre. Une fenêtre. Fenêtre. Une fenêtre. Remember the French R. So we can't say fenêtre. No. We can't say fenêtre. we say fenêtre, fenêtre, fenêtre. We saw un livre, and I told you livre. Livre is a book. Livre. But cahier, if you wrote cahier, is a notebook. We also saw un sac, un sac, un sac, un sac, sac. So how do we call bread in French? How do we call bread in French? So bread is called, this is how it's written. This one is a French word. This one is also another French word. But if you think of it in English, this is read as main, which means something that is principal or something like a main root or a main point. And this is read as pain. Sawa? So, but in French, it is read as ma. In English, it is main, pain. But in French, it is ma. So how do we read this? If this is read as ma, how do we read this? Pa. If this is read as ma, this is read as pa. So if this is pa, this is ma. And these are some of the, in French, we call them fake friends. We call them fake friends. Faux amis. If you see them, you're like, this one means main, this one means pain. But actually, they are fake friends. They mean something totally different. Okay, yeah, we said ma means hand. Pa means bread. Okay? Pa means bread. So a pen is read as, so this is how we read it. Stylo. So this is a pen. Stylo. And a pen is a masculine. Okay? So a stylo. A stylo. Someone has asked, how do you know the difference between feminine and masculine? Okay? Mostly, you'll get that most of them that end with E are usually feminine. But in this case, imagine we have this that ends with an E, and this one also ends with an E. So which one is masculine and which one is feminine? So you see, it's gonna confuse you. So just learn them by heart. Which one is masculine here and which one is feminine here? So that's why you're gonna see. I don't wanna tell you that most of them will end by like with an E. That is one of the tricks, yes, but not all of them. Because if you get something like this, you're going to be confused. So which one is masculine here and which one is feminine? Because all of them end with an E. Because this is masculine and this is feminine. So that notion is kind of true, kind of not true. Okay? So this one, all of you, if you're an English speaker, I believe you know what this is. Okay? And this is, if you're an English speaker, you can guess. What do you think this is? So this one is a child, okay? A child. And actually, we have this. Baby. So a baby is baby, 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 baby. Are you seeing the accents? In French, in the French language, if you don't accentuate using the correct accents, it's gonna bring a total different sound, or it's gonna bring a total different meaning. Okay? So these are some of the things you have to know. The gender, the accents, okay? Those are things that you have to know at the very beginning when you're learning this language. So when you advance, you're going to be advancing when you already know the tips and tricks and the basics. Ça va? Ça va? D'accord? I actually think this is really cute. Imagine someone calling you, hi baby, c'est mon bébé. C'est mon bébé. C'est my baby, is mon bébé. Je pense que c'est vraiment chouette. C'est vraiment chouette. C'est chouette. Chouette actually means it's really cute. C'est chouette. I've actually made a video on TikTok. You can check on ways in which French people say that is really cool. If you want to say that is really cool every time, you don't have to be saying oh, ça va, oui, d'accord. You can say, oh, c'est chouette. So, baby is masculine. So we say un bébé. Un bébé. Un bébé. So, this we read it as enfant, 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 un enfant, enfant. So there's another trick, another thing in French, in the French language. You're gonna be writing many words, many letters, but you don't end up pronouncing them. Because in English, this is infant. In Spanish, I'm sure they pronounce every single letter, but in French, you write them, but you don't pronounce. So, enfant, enfant, enfant. So you have to know how it's written and how it's pronounced. So this is enfant, un enfant, un bébé, un enfant, un bébé. Ça va? D'accord? How do we call a cow? So a cow is called this. So a cow is feminine. Voila. A cow is feminine. So we use une. So we use une. Anyone who knows how we pronounce this? C and H. C and H brings the sound sh. Sh. Okay? You remember I read this as chouette. Chouette. So if C and H brings the sound sh, how do we read this? So it's gonna be vache. Vache. Une vache. A cow. Une vache. Une vache. Un enfant. Remember to write how it's read next to your notes, okay? So you remember. Because you can know how it's written, but you're not confident on how to pronounce it. But the moment you know how it is pronounced, you will be really confident when you need to speak. Okay. A boy. Do you think there is a problem with how I have written a boy? If you know the problem, if you were in class yesterday, you are definitely gonna know the problem. You're going to know where the problem is. There's a difference between this C and this C that has this. Let me put something like that. So there's a difference between this C and this C. Okay? So this is read as K. This brings out the sound K. But if it has a little tail down here, it is read S. As in, it brings the softer C. But this is read as K. So this is garçon, which means we need to have a little tail here. Vous avez compris? Have you guys understood? So if this is read as garçon, so we should have a tail because it is read as ga. Then the French R, you have to. I try to put this here so we have that R. So we have gare. Then this C brings the sound S. Then we have on. So it is read as garçon. Garçon. You have to write it well though. It has an N at the end, but you don't pronounce it. It is French. So grammatically correct. This is how it's written, but how it's read is garçon. Garçon. Ok? Ça va? D'accord? Ah, mais c'est chouette alors. Ça va? D'accord? C'est chouette. Bye. Bisous, 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 bisous. À la prochaine.